Welcome back to SwitchCorner. Today we're taking a look at Phoenotopia Awakening on the Nintendo Switch. Here we get a 2D side-scrolling RPG citing its influence as Zelda 2 in many ways. That sounds like good intentions to me, but the question, can it live up to this lofty goal? Look, with that, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here, join our growing family, and let's get started. It's a story, and you're going to be taking on the role of a young girl by the name of Gail. Opening the game, you set out to the local ruins after a friend of yours sees a falling star just crashing to the ground. Up until now, I've got to say, Gail seems to have lived just a simple life. From what is introduced, she grew up in an orphanage, and her day is basically look after the younger kids and maybe help around town. That is, at least until today. While out at these ruins looking for this star, a huge starship appears and abducts all the adults. Now you are basically the elder of the village and you must set out to solve this mystery. Now, like any RPG as well, I gotta say, what is on the line does escalate quickly. I enjoyed the story here. It's actually pretty slow in its pacing, especially the opening, but adding in this like town of kids that need to be looked after really puts some weight behind what in most RPGs would probably be considered, you know, the smallest of tasks. It's a great world though, with a lot more to it than meets the eye. Fantastic characters, varying locations, a sizable world, and a story where you very much control when you move on to the next part of the mission. This game never like forces progression. That is entirely your choice of when you want to move forward. Look, just great stuff overall. So gameplay then, and let's get the Zelda 2 link you'll be hearing in nearly every video out the way first. It's the structure basically, towns, dungeons, character interactions. These are 2D moments and can basically be described as like 2D action RPG with Metroidvania elements. So just think like a whole lot of like environmental puzzles thrown in there. When it comes to exploration though, moving between towns, moving between dungeons and so on, it switches to a 3D overworld map where you can freely navigate to that next location. In these map moments you can also expect battles if an enemy approaches you, but here the game will again shift to 2D and you either fight it out or platform to the left or right of the screen to escape. While I'm on the map too as well, I've got to say it's a lot bigger than I expected, with a lot of secret areas too. It's easy to see where this game can run anywhere from 25 to 50 hours of gameplay. Controls then are at a base level simple enough, just think move, jump, attack, and then a weapon and item selection wheel linked to the right stick, as well as some like basic inventory management in the pause menu. With this one though, it's just everything else though that adds the, you know, the challenge. The big one, a stamina system. See the green bar up in the left? Every attack, every jump, every time you sprint, it depletes this, and that's going to take some getting used to. I discovered this on the first boss when it took me like about 20 attempts to get that rhythm down and defeat this thing. This requires strategy and patience, not my button mashing approach, which was kind of my go-to initially. Likewise, when it comes to strategy though, what's so simple in other games kind of takes on a new meaning here. You know, you want to like recover health. Here it took influence from Dark Souls, meaning you actually have a timer, meaning your character actually has to like eat the food. It makes it difficult to replenish health mid-battle, at least from eating. Even cooking, in fact, expect a mini game there too, though I will say I really enjoyed it. Then sprinting is an absolute pain in the ass. Hold down the trigger, easy enough, but if you jump, when you land, your sprint will stop, you will lose all momentum, so you need to pull the trigger again just at the right moment when you touch the floor. You know what though, like the reward for the simplest of things here just feel huge. A sprinting platform moment, managing to eat mid-boss fight, it's a reward that few games have ever captured. Naturally, like any RPG as well, moves, equipment, all that good stuff will see improvements, and the same goes for your health and stamina. It's not the traditional leveling up, but you can find pickups within the world to like boost things. You can even make purchases as well. For example, the thing that annoyed me the most with this one, Gail's biggest nemesis, is water. Someone seriously needs to teach this girl to swim at the beginning of the game. Fortunately though, I will say there is a solution. I don't want to tell you what it is, but it does present itself. Likewise, a simple jumping attack, you can't do that from the very beginning of the game, it must be learned. That is really all there is to the 2D sections. Platform fight, solve the occasional puzzle, and then tackle some seriously impressive bosses. There's mini games too, fishing for example, and I gotta say I really enjoyed them. And there's an early one as well, a shooting range where like you're challenged to win cash. I got stuck on this thing for like an hour because I'm a sucker for getting a high score. Problems, honestly, not many, just more more things I had to get used to. There's no map here, meaning navigation truly was like exploration. There's no real quest log as such. An early moment, a character told me to meet them in a town. Completely forgot the name of the town nearly instantly and just kind of stumbled upon him. I wish I could revisit conversations that had already like taken place a little easier, but all I learned in these moments was you've really got to watch more and listen more. That's because for the map it might not give you like a traditional setup, but characters, they will often give you detailed descriptions, like the house is in the east near the cliffs. It all plays into that sense of discovery that Phoenotopia just manages to capture so well. This one though, I gotta say, look, overall for gameplay, it's not easy. There's no hand holding at all. It's a kick you out the front door, wish you good luck and tell you to figure it out for yourself. There is moments it is actually teaching you techniques, but they are so subtle about it. You'll feel almost frustrated, like the game's holding back some information that you need to succeed. But I quickly realized these moments are tutorials in disguise. I struggled with nearly everything though, honestly, with this game. The combat, the stamina management, the monitoring my health, the fishing, the cooking, as silly as that sounds. But once I finally got it, once I finally pulled it off, it was so worth it. And this to me is Phoenotopia's biggest success. That confidence in mechanics and forcing the player to learn just adds that additional layer of weight to nearly everything you can do. Never did I think sprinting would be something as a player I could be proud of, but here I am just touting how good my sprint technique now is. Phoenotopia is confident in its ability to get the best out of its players, even if it has to drag you kicking and screaming there. I had a fantastic time and I will be going back. Graphics then, I'm going to tell you this up front, I thought it was absolutely stunning if you like pixel work at least. For those that don't know though, it's essentially a rebuild of what is now a legendary Flash game, and I like the fact they kept more than enough to make it recognisable still for those that played it, but added some seriously impressive and stylised pixel work. The overall map, first of all, it's impressive the level of detail you'll see on these towns. While there's nothing major happening here, it does a nice job of capturing at a high level what you can expect from each location. When I shifted to the 2D, that overworld view of it kind of felt right. It's a 2D though where it really wins. Dungeons are nice and varied and they provide a ton of platforming as well as secrets, but my favourite thing easily, the towns. The level of detail here is incredible as you navigate these unique locations, having not only the lower entrances to explore, but a verticality you rarely see. I normally as a player kind of get a little bored of exploration honestly and side quests, but here I wanted to go into every single doorway and see what I would find behind them. Likewise then when it comes to stunning, the animations, Gail's movements, the enemies, I've never quite seen pixel art like it with such smooth almost transitions, her hair flows and it's not something I'd normally notice or really care about, but here I don't know, it kind of stands out. You can even dye your hair color if you want to, which I found actually weirdly entertaining. Visually, my only complaints, I found some of the items could be a little difficult to visually recognize in my inventory, and then occasionally some of the platforms and barriers, they were a little tough to recognize. For example, one of the early moments, branches in the forest. Some you can jump on, some you can't, dictated by the darkness of the brown. Once I got used to it, it was fine, but I gotta say a little frustrating to start with, though I will say it's one of those things that's probably going to be tough to find a solution for without making this world empty. So audio now then, and there's not a huge amount to it. While you get the odd dialogue sound and the few attacks, they're relatively low key in their impact, which matches the visual style as well as its roots, but it does enough. Where Phoenotopia goes above and beyond is its soundtrack with over 60 tracks. Gotta say I was impressed with the amount of variety on offer here. Each of the dungeons, each of the locations, they come equipped with their own theme. I really enjoyed the soundtrack here, and it's one I hope someone, let's say an I Am 8-bit, pick it up for a physical release, because I gotta say it hits all the right marks. It adds the intensity when it needs to, the whimsical, the playful, all of those moments of emotion are captured really nicely. And I gotta say a few of the rhythms in here, I found myself humming along to them even after I put the game down for the night. So the final verdict on Phoenotopia is an incredible piece of work. It takes influence from many great games and then adds its own twist to nearly every single area. The visuals are deceivingly cutesy because this game, I gotta say, requires a lot of effort with a challenge in nearly every area that might put some people off. For me though, that is by far Phoenotopia's biggest win. I felt an accomplishment in nearly every single action and step that I took. The freedom though, the exploration, the challenging puzzles, the combat, all of it just comes together were to deliver something much bigger than the sum of its parts. While it does have the occasional issue, I will say, like quest logs and a few maybe visual issues with determining what I can and can't get access to, I had a great time, and this comes strongly recommended from me. Today I'm giving Phoenotopia Awakening an amazing 9 out of 10. This Switch release seemingly came out of nowhere, and it is perhaps the nicest surprise we've had this year on the Switch. That is, as long as you're willing to face the difficulty and challenge, then I'd say jump in as soon as possible, because at this price, you have an epic adventure ahead of you. And that is it. As always, a huge thank you then to the patrons of the channel who are going above and beyond to support SwitchCorner. Truly is appreciated, and it helps more than you know, so thank you all so much. Then if you are new here, hit subscribe if you love the Switch as much as we all do here. Join our growing family, and I'll see you all on the next video. Thanks everyone.